All right, let's go ahead and do it.
Alrighty.
Go ahead.
Alrighty. So we are in our mastermind training. We are in the executive section, and today we're going to talk a lot about effective closing skills and just the conversations really that need to be had in order to close effectively. So there were a lot of videos. So hopefully for individuals that are watching the replay, you guys have been doing some of the action items, because unfortunately until you get to Senior Star, you won't be able to see the majority of these videos because they're all generated right here in Vital 180. So the first video is continuing to share and invite others to share. And the one thing that was super important in this video is that the key to sharing effectively is listening. The more that we listen and hear people's needs, the easier it will be to share, rather than think of who would be good at this business because they tend to do this and I can see them growing. Rather than think in that way, we just need to listen to people. When someone says that they're, struggling with something, or they have a weight loss goal, or just things that they're doing in their life, listen to them, generate conversation, and have the conversation naturally lead to a place where you can share. Anyone else want to share something on this video?
I like the way that they played off of each other for this one, highlighting that point. And it makes so much sense. You would think that it's something that you would naturally do, but they brought out the point that we often go into conversations with what we have in mind for the person that we're talking to. And at that point, we stop listening, and we're never going to be effective because people have their own goals and their own way of doing things. And if we go into it thinking, well, I want them to do this, if those two goals don't align, you're going nowhere. So you really have to attend to them. And they brought out one of the points to make sure that they know that you're actually listening is to repeat back to them what they said. So they bring that up again a little later, but repeating back to them so that they know that you're listening as well. So that helps to build confidence and trust.
Yeah, I wanted to chime in. Similar to that, it made me think of when they say help others get what they want and you'll get what you want. You can't find out what it is what they want without listening. So, and it goes into detail a little bit later, but there might be, based off of the conversation that you have, a person who's more interested in the product more so than anything. So if you don't find a way to effectively communicate with them and you're talking about the business, then they are probably going to tell you, no, I'm not interested. But if the need is something from the products, then that might be something that you hone in on. And so it really just stressed the importance of not necessarily having your own agenda going into a conversation with someone, but having the mindset of, let me find out more about this individual, see what it is that they need, and see how I can help them.
Do you want this slide? Any other comments on that video? Now they have this link to this resource. I don't even know. Yeah, I don't recall this book. And then, so I don't know. Has anyone ever looked at this link or book?
I actually, long before my Young Living life, I had seen that book, and I remember this is the guy that does the napkin presentations. It's like basically it's an in-out presentation in a couple of minutes. But that's all I knew. So when I looked at it, I went down and read the details of what it was, and I recognized it. this is the 35th anniversary edition, but if you Google, you can find the guy's own website. This doesn't seem to be his website, but you can find his website and you can download a version of it. It must be an abridged version because it's only like 35 pages long, but it does go over his various napkin. He's got a whole series of these napkin presentations. So you can get that. There's a couple different places that'll have a free download. So if you want to check it out before you spend the money to buy the book, and there's lots of previous editions available different places pretty cheaply. And I don't know if they all, when he started, but this 35th edition has his approach to dealing with social media as well. But I haven't read this, so I couldn't speak to whether that's valuable or not, just that it's there.
All right, that's good to know. I'll probably eventually check it out.
Oh, there's audio versions of it for sure.
Okay. All right, so then after that, there was, I guess just anything else that anyone wanted to share. I probably was mixing up these two videos a little bit about actual effective listening.
I liked these two videos. In fact, I didn't get a lot of information from them, but the information that I was able to pull from them, I found was very helpful. They literally walked you through how they end the conversation, the question, like a real life scenario. And there's something that he did in both of them and then they discussed it at the end of the second video, where he asks on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you here? And what would take you, okay, you're at a 7, then what would it take to get you to a 10? So you can really gauge the person's interest and where they value either the product or the business opportunity. And I would have never thought to do that. When I saw it, I was like, okay, yeah. But then when they discussed it afterwards, it made a lot of sense why to do that. They actually recommend you doing that. And it gives you something to build upon, and when you know what it would take to get them from a 6 or a 7 to a 10, you can address those concerns and get them to a 10. So I found them very helpful, and I think I'll watch them again a couple of times.
Yeah, I haven't been using those exact words, so I think that it was definitely good. I do think it's important when you talk about the product focused one, as they mentioned, we always mention the business, that there is an opportunity for the income, and then making sure that we do ask them if they say they're not interested in the business, and we say that's perfectly fine. 98% of the people are not, but at least never assume or even put it in their head that it's something that they wouldn't want to do. But yeah, that line of questioning definitely is very helpful in order to gauge where their interest is. And then when it comes to the business one, I know they really stress making sure that individuals understood that we have this training system. If they show any interest in the business, make sure that they have the training system. And then the other thing is, in both of the videos, the thing that they will get into more in one of the other videos, though, is they made it very, very clear that you're explaining in the beginning that I'm going to make sure that you're capable of learning whether I'm there or not. And that's what some of these systems are for. And I will give you resources and tools to help you with that.
So wait, really quickly, I'm confused. Are we still talking about, are we doing the effective closing videos now?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can talk about any of them, because the first two I think I'm mixing together, and then the other three are kind of together. So you you can jump in and add anything that you would like.
Well, okay, so these were the ones I was waiting to kind of hone in on because like Scott and Brenda's video brought out like this is the brought out this is like the part that most people are afraid of, and
Yep.
it's the asking for the sale, so to speak, or finding out if the person is interested in going forward. But I like the example that they gave because when you make a recommendation to anyone, let's say you made a recommendation on, I think they used a computer. Like if you were going to Best Buy and someone asked you what kind of computer they should get, and if you're knowledgeable about computers, you're going to tell them what's the best computer to get, especially for the price range that they're looking for. And when you send them to go, or when they go to Best Buy and they may or may not purchase that computer, you don't just leave it hanging in the air though. Usually the next time that you talk to them, hey, did you go to Best Buy? Like, did they have what you were looking for? Did they have the computer I recommended? And we don't have an issue doing that. Not only because we're trying to help that individual, but um, we're making a recommendation and then allowing them to make a decision with the information that they've been given. So when they were talking about effective closing skills, it just reminded me of that we're doing the same thing with Young Living. Sometimes because we have so many marketing tools to use on how to effectively close sales, how to effectively or how to be effective in network marketing in general, sometimes we have to remember that some of that is designed for dealing with cold market. And so you do have to have a certain posture about yourself. You do have to, develop certain skills for dealing with cold market. But when you're dealing with your warm market, that's the people that you personally know, a recommendation and information goes a lot further. And so when you're following up to close, it's just following up on that recommendation that you gave them. So say you let them try lavender and it's like, hey, how did that lavender oil work out for you? Or how did that peppermint oil work out for you? And you can go from there to see what their interest is without feeling like, okay, I'm this pushy person that's looking just to get a sale. And I think people that will resonate with people and they won't feel that you're being pushy. Um, so that was kind of something that was, I don't want to say new to me, but it was a good reminder because I know myself, I've been dealing with a lot of cold market individuals over the years. And so I do have a certain posture about myself that I'm used to dealing with cold market. And when I go back to dealing with warm market, it does come off probably a little strong for them. So we have to remember who we're dealing with and how to effectively communicate with them.
Go ahead, Julie.
No, go ahead. I already have it. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I just was going to add, sorry, I look horrible right now, but I was just going to add I also wanted those few clips that Tashina has sent in the chat about closing. I forgot what the military lady's name was or whatnot, but I do appreciate one thing that she had kind of brought out was start with kind of what's uncomfortable for you. So for me, sometimes, because for me initially I was like, oh my goodness, $160, that's a lot of money. My belief comes out when I close. So if I don't really see or believe in the value of it and I'm closing, then people can sense that. So I liked how she was like, get that out of the way in the beginning. Like before you even start your presentation, it's $160 to $260. That's what it is to get started in this business, or well, get started with your kit or whatnot, and go through your presentation. And while you're going through it, then you're building the value throughout the process, and they're not shocked at the end. And then it's easier for you to be able to kind of close that way because you're just wrapping it all up, and now it only makes sense. This is the next step for you to go.
I like that, Dana. Thanks for suggesting that.
Yeah, definitely when I do one-on-ones, I always start with that. And then, they have that right away. I feel like, especially with the one-on-one, they're waiting for that anyways. So, Julie, did you want to share anything about these videos?
Yeah, but I don't know how to unmute myself.
You're good. Go ahead.
I like that same thing about the Best Buy. But when you go into Best Buy, the person in there that's going to sell you something is already, and they said this, they're already assuming that you're coming there, that by the end of your leave, when you leave, you're going to have something in your hands that you take away. And so they said, you have to find out what that need is by asking lots of questions, figuring out what that need is. And if they walk out of there empty-handed, it's because you did not find the need and fill it. And so it goes the same with us. When people come to these classes, some of them might get dragged by a friend or whatever, but they're there, they're curious. And once they're there, if we go in there with the mindset that we assume that they're going to buy, we're going to do a good enough job to show them why these are the best oils possible that you could ever get. Assume that in your head that they're going to buy. It comes across as a totally different thing, and that's where that posture comes in. We know we have the best oils. We know what they've done for us, and we have to have the enthusiasm, the passion. I don't know if I'm stepping into the next video or not, but we have to have that confidence when we're in front of them, and that will spill over into them and get them excited. But if we go in there, and I'm not going to name names, but there's a certain person who does these videos, and 2 minutes into, and it's not you guys, 2 minutes into the video, it's like I have to turn. It's so boring. I can't take it. I'm so excited for today. No, you're not. I mean, it's just you have to have your passion, and if you expel that onto the people, it's going to grow onto them, and they're going to walk out of there with a kit. And I can remember, and this is just one story. My very first party, I had 26 people at that party, and I sold one kit, and I swear it was just a sympathy kit. 26 people. And I thought, what the heck? Now from there, I ended up 3 more kits, but it took weeks to follow up and do it. What did I do wrong? Well, I gave them a whole history of essential oils, and I never closed. I never said, who's ready to get into this? Or can you see how this is going to benefit your family and what it's going to do for you? I never said that. And now that's exactly what I say. And I say, who's going to be the first one to want to take a kit home with you tonight? Or like what's his name? Scott says, can you see how this, I don't know what he said, but he always asked them 1 to 10, and you're a 10. So I'm assuming that you want to take this kit home with you tonight. Get started right away. So you got to put it into their minds and put it into their, hands, and send them away with it. And that confidence and the passion will sell that kit for you, along with the education. And then they also went, for some that don't sell all the time, right off the bat, shake the dust off your feet. If you've put it out there, you've practiced, you've done what you could, you've practiced your closing, and they still can't find the value. Number one, you probably haven't found their need. But if that's the case, shake it off. Maybe go back to them later on, but there's always 100 other people in that line waiting to go for. I don't know. That's it.
And I'll just add to that, because you kind of reminded me of something, Julie. But sometimes we're afraid to get objections too. So, when we're closing and someone might say something negative, even during our close or during our class, Scott used, I used to say this was my tagline, but apparently I guess Scott's been using it longer because he's a little older. So, but I always ask, I don't ask, did you like what you heard, or something that allows them to have a negative response. I ask the question, what did you like most about what you heard tonight? And even if they take that to mean like, did you like it? And they say something negative, you say, okay, I understand that, but what did you like most about what you heard tonight? And 9 times out of 10, someone will at least find something that's positive to say that appealed to them, and that's what you go with. So if they, out of all the oils that we went through in the kit that night, only one oil appealed to them, let's hone in on that, how that oil can help you as an individual, and let me focus on that. If we talked about the business, and the business was something that they were interested in, but they're like, oh, I don't care anything about the products. Okay, great. Let's hone in on how I can show you how the comp plan works and how the business works and how this can benefit you and your family. So I think that's an effective skill to develop too when closing, is learning how to overcome objections because sometimes we hear an objection and we just take it as, oh, this person doesn't want anything that I have to offer. And sometimes that's not always true. We just have to find out exactly what it is that they want and need by asking, like Julie said, more questions.
Oh, I'm muted. Oh, I'm unmuted. Okay. To go along with that too, and we've all heard this from people who have who are doing the business or trying to do the business, where they say, I just can't sell. I just can't do this. No one's listening. No one's buying. You know what? He made an excellent point that it's all the same product for all of us. And it's all the same comp plan for all of us. Why do some people be able to go skyrocket off and while others are barely selling a kit? It's because, number one, almost always, it's because of that close. We don't have a close, a good, solid close that we're confident in giving. But and this is off, it's Sarah Harnish's book, but she says if you're not selling, I hate that word, but if you aren't sharing in a way that's going to intrigue the people or whatever, there's 6 reasons why, and she names all 6 of them. But one of the main ones is your close. You just don't have a close. You're not sealing the deal in the end because you're afraid to ask for that money, but if you value it and you know it in your head and your belief, like Dana said, the belief system, you believe it's worth 160 and that comes across, then people will buy it.
Yeah, so with that point too, I would suggest for an individual like that, just keep rewatching the videos on closing and find other videos on closing with different personalities, with softer personalities that still come off as nice. That's what I did. And then the feel, felt, found method that we talked about in GoPro and a lot of the other leaders talk about, your mental block, you got past it because you're in Young Living. How did you get past it? So it's okay to acknowledge the feeling. I didn't have $180 sitting in the bank when I went to my home party. It was on the 25th. I get paid the last day of the month and the 15th. So I didn't have 180 sitting in my bank account. So if somebody says it's really expensive, I always say, I know exactly how you feel. I didn't have the money to get it that night, but it was worth it to me. And as soon as I got paid last time, I found out it was definitely worth it. So just keep listening over and over to those experts. One of the things they talked about too is practice. If you feel like you can't do it, we've done care call practices on this call before. If you feel like you're struggling with something, that's part of what your upline is there for. Ask for the help, ask for the practice, but your support team is not going to know unless you ask us. So practice, practice, practice. Any other thoughts about closing skills?
Hey, real quick. I was gonna also add in one of Shannon Hudson's Building to Diamond. I think she does a really good job too talking about closing, and she also talks about our mannerisms, making eye contact and things like that. Because another thing that she says is, again, people can sense when there's something fishy. So if you start, the whole class, you're upbeat and you're looking at everybody and you're gesturing and making eye contact, and then all of a sudden you start getting to the close and you're looking down and you slow down, your voice goes lower and stuff like that, people are like, oh my goodness, there's something fishy about that, and they're like, I don't want it anymore. So a lot of that is important too, to kind of look at your posture, mannerisms, facial expression. So I do like how Scott was saying, maybe record yourself, or maybe even you can videotape yourself, or have somebody else there with you watching you and see if they notice, when you start closing, you're a completely different person, or if there's something else that can, help to, again, make that close strong.
One book I would suggest that can help with that too, and I feel like it's a really light and clear book, is Presence. I have to find that. I will find the actual video that talks about power posing and presence in the book. I can't remember her name right this second, but that's one way to learn like the body posture that you need to have and also prep your mind is power posing. And the book really, she was an individual that felt like a fraud, and that's what you're feeling like when you're feeling unauthentic. And she goes through a lot of the psychology of that and how power posing can help with that. So it's a really good book. So I will post that in the chat after the call. One of the other clear things, and I appreciated that Scott was doing when he was in the business focus one, he kept asking, what that person wanted to do. And we fall into that trap a lot of times too, right? We want to hit our next rank, which means we need to create 2 executives, which means they need to create 2 senior stars in 2 different legs. But he was asking, Brenda, what's your goal? What would be good? $500 a month. People usually are not thinking that big. We want to push, I can see you're going to be my next executive in 3 and silver in 6 but he let her decide what her first step was going to be. And then when she said something that was unrealistic, I'd like to get there in 2 months. $500 a month as executive, and you only want to do an hour a day, that's not really going to work. You would need to do more like, 15 hours a week. And so I know I personally need to be better about asking questions and making sure that there's clarity when it comes to coaching and training my team, because my brain doesn't go detailed oriented. My brain is like, we're going to do this. You can figure it out because I figured it out. So I really appreciated that part of his video as well.
The part of the section we're talking about painting a picture as well. Did we start that one?
That would definitely be the next one to get into.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like this kind of piggybacks on what you were saying just now, because in that video, like for some individuals, especially if it's something that I know for me, I love the products, but the benefits that the business side brings to me are like more front and center than the product side. So when he talks about the importance of painting a picture, like depending on what that person is interested in, you have to describe what it will look like for them to be successful, either as a product user or as a business owner. Because from the business aspect, like, maybe a person wants to pay off some debt that they may not necessarily see themselves being able to do for years. I know people my age have a ton of student loans. So when I talk to people my age, can you imagine writing a check to pay off your student loans early, or actually pay them off and not have Sally Mae or Navient calling you on a monthly or weekly basis? If they're a little bit older, can you imagine, instead of retiring in another 10, 15 years, how would you maybe like to possibly retire in the next 5 years? Like, describe what that would look like, for them. If they want to be at home or be on the beach sipping Mai Tais, okay, more power to you. This is a vehicle that can get you there. And so they sometimes need to understand the visual aspect. That's why we talk about things like vision boards, even for team members, because it's important that you be able to visualize yourself there. Otherwise you won't move. You won't be motivated to try and get there.
Yeah, definitely. And this is something else that I definitely need to work on. To me, this sounds very blue. I'm like, paint the picture, just do it. So I'm like, yeah, this is something I'll definitely have to work on. But it's good. I mean, I have my vision book. Like a board is like too much for me, because then if the pictures don't fit right, then I would get frustrated. So I have like a scrapbook for mine, and it does help. And I do look at it. So this is also something that I need to put. And that's why I love going through this stuff, because it's like, again, when you're not moving as fast as you would like to be, go back to these and see, what am I not implementing? Maybe some of the individuals on my team are not attracted to me because I haven't been doing some of the things that these yellow blues need. So let me hone my skills, let me get better, let me get more attractive to other people. Any other thoughts on this video? Andrea or Julie?
I was what I would never have thought about, but I could see for somebody who is interested in the business, but they're looking small. They're not, saying, okay, I want to be gold or I want to be, diamond or whatever. But like in the example, something as simple as having them visualize going and getting that check out of the mailbox and paying bills. Like, just imagine the relief you'll feel to have that bill paid off. I mean, those things are very real, very tangible, and very doable within a few months if they start. So I think that was a great idea that would have never have occurred to me, and I think I'm going to try to use it.
Julie, did you have anything to add?
Okay. No, not really, but I did. I think I've sent each of you guys, at least Dana and Tashina, to encourage you at one point before you came silver and she got executive. I sent you a fake check I text you a fake check that had the silver average income on it, in hopes that would be encouraging to you. And I send those to a lot of people. When they get to a certain rank, I'll send that. And I hope it's something that you cut out and we'll put on. I think Dana told me she cut it out and put it on a fridge at one time or something. But just that it keeps it in the forefront of you, so that you can picture if that's coming in every single month, how awesome it would be and how it would change your life. And so as far as doing all the other stuff, vision boards are great. I have one. I framed it when we were out at Silver. You'll probably do it. There you go. I knew it was you, Dana. I love that. And, I just think I hope it encourages you to keep focused and keep forward, and it will come. I promise you, it will come if you don't quit. Tashina, you'll do that vision board. Well, you don't have to, but they do one at Silver at the retreat. And we actually shipped them home and framed them because they really meant more to us because we made it with all the other silvers. But
yeah, as long as somebody's working on it with me, I don't have that creativity. And when my pictures don't fit, I'll get frustrated.
I cut all my pictures out. They flew out there with me. I brought all my pictures pretty much cut out and put them together out there. But I wanted to go back just one thing, because he was saying something, they were talking about the unicorns. This is back at whatever, I don't know which video it was. I watched like 5 of them. We get so disappointed. We think we get this person who's going to be on fire and take you to the top, and then after a couple things, they kind of fizzle out. That happens. They said 98% of the people just aren't going to do it. 2% of the people are the ones that are going to do it. 20%, is it 2% or 20%, are the ones that are going to take you where you need to go, and the rest are just going to love the oils. We're always going to have that. And I meant to do this, but my little brother came in town just a little while ago, and him and his friend are downstairs now. But I wanted to look up my numbers, because out of 754 people on this team, I have 2 silvers. I think I have 5 or 6 executives. I didn't get down to the senior stars and then the stars, but I'm just, out of 750 people, that's maybe 20 people, literally, that are doing something, that are really trying to, that are really working the business. So I just don't want you to feel that if, you don't get somebody, out of the first 30 people you sign up, it's not normal. It's very, very normal. Don't get down on yourself. I don't know. That was just a point they brought out something about all the unicorns, and there's just, you know what? They're fake. Yeah. Unicorns aren't real. People have to want it, and they got to want it themselves. And so I don't know. I don't know where that came from. I just had to say it.
No,
you guys,
and Eric Warrior always talks about the same numbers. I mean, this is how network marketing works, period. Yeah. And it's very true. And I remember when we talked about Robert Kiyosaki last week, and I had read the Cash Flow Quadrant a long time ago, and it popped up in my memories again. And I remember when I reread it, And he was kind of talking about how a bee business works. And I remember what stuck out the second time of me doing is like, my business will not necessarily be a bee business until I have 500 people on my team.
Yeah.
That's when I know for sure that I will have 5 other leaders on my team. And so until I have 500 people on my team, then there's nothing for me to worry about.
Yeah. I mean, there are some people who are silver and they have like 400 people on their team, but it's rare. It's a rare thing. And so I just want you guys to know that there's nothing wrong with the way you're working your business. It's just the finding the right one, you know, just finding that person who understands network marketing and wants to go with it, you know. So anyway, I just don't want you to feel bad if it doesn't, you know, the unicorn doesn't appear right away.
All right, the next thing was talking about starting to build your team. So again, as we're trying to move from senior star to executive, we got to have 2 leaders. We got to continue to look for 2 leaders to sustain being an executive, getting that income, and then work on getting to silver. We can't get to silver and maintain silver if we don't have 2 leaders on our team. So at the level of senior stars when we start doing that. So this does reiterate what Julie was saying. Network marketing is a numbers game. We just keep putting them in. We just keep putting them in. We just keep putting them in. And eventually the numbers will work in our favor based on what we just said. Out of 100 people, 2 people will want to actually grab a hold of this. Out of 100 people, 20 people will be engaged and use the products and be social with this, signing up a person here and a person there. That's just the way the numbers work. So we just keep going through the numbers until we get what we need. Results matter. So for us personally, as we're going through some of these videos, are we getting results when we talk to people? Are the people who have said that they want to be engaged getting results? We need to evaluate those things. And if not, get some coaching, go on YouTube, get some more information, and see how we can make any adjustments to increase our results. Now remember, we make it happen. They reminded us we used to be independent business owners, and so it's our job to grow our own business. We get help from our upline, wonderful, that's great, but everyone has their own independent business. They're all in different areas. We have to work as hard as we can to make our business grow, be the magic that we want to see, be the example that we want to see, and keep it moving forward. And the keys to making it happen is to be persistent, be available, and follow up. And we always want to get out of our comfort zone. So we have to be as attractive to as many people as we can. We have to grow ourselves. We have to improve ourselves. We have to make personal changes. We need to listen to audiobooks. We need to read books. We need to talk with other successful people, learn what it takes to create and maintain a large, successful team. And know that people are going to follow what we do. So do about 50% of what we do. So we want to do the right things as much as possible. Do the right things in excess. And our team will do some of what we do. And at the end of the day, relax and have fun. It is a fun business. We are helping people. We are blessing people. We are getting good stories. So never take anything too seriously. And then the last quote it ends with, people with goals succeed because they know where they are going, by Earl Nightingale. So any other thoughts or comments along those lines?
I think one of the big things is to remember that your team's going to do half of what you do. So I feel like that kind of goes hand in hand with getting out of your comfort zone. So if you're struggling to find a way to build your business, and this is something that you really want, imagine how half of your team feels, those who are trying to follow you. So you kind of have to be empathetic in a sense and realize that when helping them to set goals. But also you're going to have to push yourself to do more because of that, to lead by example, because you are their upline, you are their leader. And in the same vein, if that's something that you're struggling with, then as I mentioned, you have to be willing to reach out to your upline support. because we've all been, I don't want to say we've all been there, but when a person is getting started, we've all been in that position. People have all told us no. There have been ups and downs where you feel like maybe you're not growing fast enough, or people in your team aren't doing enough. And so your upline is going to be able to support you in those times. And so realize that all those 5 points are good for the mental aspect of the business, because sometimes people fall off and they drop out because they get discouraged. But if we help them to appreciate that, hey, these are the things that are going to happen along your journey, help them to appreciate that from the beginning, then we can kind of sort of soften the blow a little bit, so to speak. So just remember that like Julie was talking about, there may be a small percentage who actually engage and an even smaller percentage who actually build, but remember to make this something that is enjoyable and successful for you. I really like the last point, relax and have fun. Because if it's not, I know for us blue personalities, if it's not fun, we won't do it. And so you have to find a way to make it fun and enjoyable for you.
There was a really brief note, I think it was on the first page, about when you're doing the beginning sharing or your class, you don't have to make it super scientific. You don't need to have all the answers. Just simple. Keep it simple. And that's something because of my personality. Like all the science, I'm a little bit of a geek that way. So I want to get into it because that makes sense to me. But it's a little overwhelming if you throw all that information at people. All they hear is words. So keep it really simple. You don't have to have, a college class. You're just doing a class, a simple sharing class. So for those of us that I'm a green, so that are like that, just bear that in mind. Simple, simple, simple.
All right, and then the next video will talk about creating independent members, not dependent members. So, I mean, really, we've been talking about this a lot recently. Our goal is to plug them into the system. Our goal is to make sure they know where to go to get their questions answered. Our goal is to make sure that they are wellness advocates. Our goal is to answer questions with tools, even tools that we're creating and can use over and over again. Dana and Anthony does an amazing job by doing their health talks. If you're a words person, I know when I did my mastermind with the Spanish group, one of the things that I had never created was a welcome email, just a welcome email, and I can copy and paste that and use it for my postcards that I send out as well. So just making sure that we're not doing things for people, that they're not calling us just to know how to use every single oil or what to order and things of that nature.
Really quickly, I want to add to that, because Dana thinks I'm the mean one when it comes to this, but I like how Scott talks about giving someone an assignment and seeing what they do with it. So let's say you have a new person who gets started and they're like, I want to reach star, like they're gung-ho, and you say, okay, you need to go in and do your get started training, and you need to do the star training. Do those action steps, and I will follow up with you later when you've done that. And so when we talk to the individual again and we ask those questions, like, hey, did you do the star training? Did you do the getting started training? And they're like, no. Then we have to realize that they're only going to get out of it what they put into it. So at that point, it's not our job to try to motivate them to want to do this business, because at that point, you're wasting your time. So I have a strict rule. If I give someone an assignment and they don't do it, you don't get any time, because I need to focus on my people who are actually going to follow through and who actually want this. Time is money, and so to speak. So if you're not actually doing the assignments that are actually leading to you being successful in this business, then I hate to say it this way, but why am I wasting my time? I don't want to waste that person's time, and I don't want to waste my time. And so we have Vital 180. Young Living has a ton of tools. We have plenty of things to equip people with so that they can be either successful product users or successful business business builders. But at the same time, if they're not putting in the action steps, then we need to go to the end and pay attention to the individuals that are. And so sometimes that's kind of the trap, because we get caught in the care calls, and we want to check on people and make sure that they're still hanging around. But the ones who want to be around and want to be progressive, they're going to do those things. The ones who are okay not being engaged, they're okay with that. And sometimes we have to learn the difference between the two and focus our attention on the ones who really deserve it and the ones who really need it.
Well, Anthony, if Dana gets on you and says you're the mean one, just point her back to that video, because that's exactly what Brenda and Scott were saying. The ones that are doing the work are going to get your attention, because you only have so many hours in the day to do what you have to do. And if somebody's not going to put the time in, you've got other people that are putting the time in that deserve your energy. But also something that Brenda brought out that I appreciated. She said in the beginning, she did everything for everybody and she kept doing it, but then it hit a point where she couldn't do it all. And so she had to change the way she was doing. And suddenly I heard Tashina's voice coming out of this white lady's mouth, because she was saying, use the tools, show them where the tools are, let them learn how to do it. And I went, Tashina was just preaching this to us like a month ago, and there she's saying it too. So it makes a lot of sense. Plus, if you do everything for everybody, you're never going to have time to take care of you. So, and they're never going to be able to duplicate what you're doing because they haven't learned it. So if you don't put your foot down and teach them or direct them to the tools so that they can learn how to do it, they'll never be able to do it for their downline, and your organization is never going to go anywhere.
Very true. The next section was just reminding us that we want to make sure that we have a presence on social media and setting those up. I use Facebook and Instagram the most. I technically don't really use Twitter. It exists, but all I do is duplicate when I post on LinkedIn and Instagram because I can. So right now, Facebook and Instagram is what I do. Julie, do you still use Periscope at all?
She said no, but I did want to add some stuff to this, especially being that I just re-listened to Crush It and listened to Crushing It. There's so many more platforms other than just Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Periscope is pretty much dead, but Facebook Live is huge. You want to make sure you're going live on your page, getting that interaction from people. And there's a lot of new platforms like Snapchat and Musical.ly and some of these other things where they might be a little more targeted to a younger audience. But the thing is with these, they're not oversaturated. So right now, when you look at like your Instagram, like it's going to be so much harder to get noticed now because it's so saturated. So it's important that we're constantly looking at what are some of the new platforms coming out, what are some of the new things that we can kind of involve ourselves in. And one thing that I was telling my husband that I want to look into is like, so now the next big thing that's kind of coming up is everybody has Siri. Everybody has like Google Homes and stuff like that. And what if when people ask Google a question, it's your voice that they hear giving you the information? So it's a lot of stuff that is like continuously moving that you want to just stay abreast of, because once things start getting too saturated, it's hard to really stand out because there's a lot of people now on those different markets. And then I think I mentioned it last week too, but each platform works a little bit different. So you do want to, like Twitter, like just periodically through the day, like Twitter, you literally can, you know, tweet 30 times a day, right? So like, and retweet things, like, so it's gonna work a little bit different than like your Facebook and your Instagram.
Yeah, and that's definitely true. And so I do have Snapchat, and it was set up by like 14-year-olds at my place of worship, because that's what everyone uses. That's between 14 to 20. But I mean, like Dana said, there are more people getting on it every single day, and there are adults on there, and people do see my stuff. Like, it's real quick, it's real easy. I can see who's watching my videos, and there's definitely, you know, a presence out there. I haven't started using Musical.ly yet. My nieces put that on my phone as well, but I haven't started using that. So that definitely is a good point and a good thing to remember. And then the last video, since we're in our last 5 minutes, was talking about our target market, and we touched on this a little bit. And the reality is that it's not really that difficult. It's not really that hard to identify your target market, because mostly it's going to be you. Your target market is going to be you. So if we figure out what our brand is, exactly what we want to communicate, and be authentic, really our target market is going to be, you know, we stretch our arms out, and that's what our target market is. I tend to, on average, you know, sign up a lot more single people than probably the average Young Living person, because I'm now single. I sign up a lot of business people because I can interact very well in chambers or at my place of work. And then I stay authentic and true to who I am. Like, there will be times where in Happy Oilers, all the rage is do it yourself. I'm not a do it yourselfer. Don't give me that stuff. If y'all want to know about do it yourself, Dana will have something coming up. Leah might have something come up. That's not what I do. Business professionals at GM are not making soap. They're just not. So that's not part of my target market. So when you identify your brand and who you are and you're authentic, that your target market is pretty easy, because it's basically you're marketing to yourself. Any other thoughts?
All I could think of when I was watching that video is, where am I going to find half crazy cripples? Because I think that's my target market.
But as you build your social media platform, you'll be able to reach out to them, right?
Exactly.
Maybe you start a blog, you draw them in.
I actually was thinking about that as I was reading it. I thought, because a lot of people who are in Young Living are already fairly healthy to begin with, and they're thin, and, you know, they have their act together, and I'm like the antithesis of that. But what a remarkable presence I could have, because, you know, some people who are in really bad health or really handicapped or things like that, they look at all the skinny little Barbie dolls and turn the other way, because it's just another skinny little Barbie doll. So when they see somebody that, oh, like, you know, just like me, and she's doing this and it's helping her, I mean, it could really, it's a niche market, but I definitely think that there's a niche that needs to be filled. So here I am.
So I totally, that is the niche. And you can reach out to people on Instagram. You can find people who are having that, just like you. I'm telling you, the majority of the people that I've signed up off of Instagram and Facebook are maybe 10 years less than me and around my age. They're grandmothers, almost all of them. And not that they're, I don't know what your illness is, but most of us have a lot of things going on. The you know, aches and pains, all the normal stuff that happens. I guess it's normal, you know, between 50, 60, 70 years old. But I'm telling you, they reach out to, I just had another one sign up the other day. She found me. I guess she's been following me, but she's a grandma, whatever. And she signed up because I'm sure it's because I'm a grandmother and I'm always putting the kids out there, whatever. But if you put yourself out there and maybe tell about yourself and what you're dealing with or whatever, you'll find people. And if I see anybody who posts something about how they're not feeling well or whatever, I will automatically go in there and say, just say, I hope you're feeling better. Or I hope that you find a remedy, or I'll message them on the backside and say, have you ever thought about using, thieves or something, and leave it there and see if they'll text back. But you've got a niche, like you said, but you got to work it. And it's not easy. Who was I just listening to? Oh, I know. It was that Christy Rose, who is like Instagram queen, built her business, was 18 months. She was Royal Crown or whatever. But she worked Instagram literally, she says, 12 hours a day. Now, most of us don't have that kind of time. But I literally wake up every single morning and spend a half hour just going in, and they have to be within like the first 40 pictures, and make a comment on every single one. Just a nice comment. Great picture. Your kids are beautiful. Oh, the eyes, whatever it is. And I do mean it. I'll pass by some pictures that I don't think are something that would interest me. But you have to work Instagram and Facebook to make it work for you. If you are stuck at home because of an illness, but it does work. You just have to work it. If you could go on YouTube and look up Christy Rose, I think she's got some videos out there. She's always on the silver calls or on the gold calls, platinum calls. She's got her own page, Facebook page. You can find her on there. That will help you build on Instagram. She's very good. I posted something the other day on our Happy Oiler page where she's talking about how she built on Instagram. I don't know if you saw it, but go back and watch it. She's wonderful.
Good advice. Thank you, Julie. I had actually realized after watching that video that was probably what I should do because but I appreciate the tips and ideas, and I will look for her video.
All right, with that, we will end the call. So homework for next week is to do the growth section of executive training, come prepared to discuss the importance of and how to promote events. So that looks like this. So there's a lot of other stuff in here. Getting the executive planner filled out if you haven't done that. If you're a senior, start moving to there. Starting new people off right, investing in yourself. But again, as we've been stressing every single week, convention is so important and must be promoted, as well as local events as you have them. So, and with that, we will end the call. We're over 9:30 right now, and Panera will be shutting down quite soon. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye.